Greetings to each and every one of you. My name is Archbishop Durocher. I am the Archbishop of Gatineau. And with this video, I'm starting a series that I'm calling The Mass Unconfined. The title is kind of evident because as I'm recording this, we are waiting in Quebec for the announcement that we will be allowed to gather in our worship spaces once again to celebrate the sacraments. And with many of you, I can't wait to be with my brothers and sisters, to celebrate the Eucharist in particular. But there's another reason that I'm giving this title to my series. I'll explain that in my next video. I hope to keep these videos short, 4, 5, 6 minutes long. I also hope to explore all the different elements that make up the celebration of the Eucharist. I'm hoping to present a video like this every 2 or 3 days, so keep your eyes open for them. But today I'd like to start with a story. When I was a young priest, I was at a friend's cottage, and I met a man there who was older than I was. He had teenage children, and he took me aside at one point and he said, "Paul Andre, my 14-year-old son tells me he doesn't want to go to church anymore. What would you tell him?" So I looked at him, and I'm not a Jesuit, but I answered a question with a question. I said, well, what did you answer? He looked at me and he said, well, I told him that this was a rule in our house, that we go to church on Sundays, and as long as he lived under my roof, he would be following that rule. I kept silence, and he asked me, what, would you have said something different? So I answered him, well, yes, I think I would have started by telling him why I go to church. It was his turn to remain silent. So I asked him, why do you go to church? Why do you go to Mass? He thought about it for a moment, and he said to me, to give a good example to my children. Well, I wasn't going to let that be, so I asked him, are you telling me that if you didn't have children, you wouldn't be going to Mass? He thought of it for a moment, and he kind of answered sheepishly, I'm not sure I would. So I invited him to think about that, and suggested that before imposing the celebration of the Eucharist on his own children, he might gain from finding his own reasons for celebrating the Eucharist. And this is the question I'm asking you. Why do you attend church? Why do you go to celebrate Mass on Sundays? What is the meaning of that celebration for you? The answer might be evident for you. You might have a response right on the tip of your tongue right now. But I would invite you to think about it a bit, to explore that question, and to explore your motivations. There might be more than one. And in the next video, I'd like to, with you, reflect on why it is that we celebrate the Eucharist. Some of the meanings that it can have, and some of the meanings maybe that it should have that we don't think about very often. So as we think about this question, I'm going to say goodbye and look forward to seeing you at the next video. God bless.